So I was gonna be like, did you come up with an intro to the show? Expect no. Alright. I don't know, something fucking stupid.
I don't get it. Hi, I'm Tom Savini, and you're about to watch Terror Reels.
The best thing out of Pittsburgh since Clemente with the Pirates.
So what's up, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of Terror Reels. I'm Steel City Dahmer with the big homie Luke the Goon. Back at the 2022 gathering, Luke and I were posted up at Camp Bunyan's, chopping them up, making some moves here on YouTube. We wanted to do an episode together due to our love of horror, and our Luke dropped that he wanted to do the OG 1989 Stephen King's Pet Sematary. I told him that. What I didn't tell him is I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid. All I can remember was the Herman Munster played in it, and that scene with the big rig truck. Well, if you know anything about the gathering, you'll know that plans being made simply always fall to the wayside. It doesn't help that I'm a lazy piece of shit who wasn't really making content at the time. So we met up at the super famous Fun Time Show 3, we went back over those plans, and he told me the anniversary of the Pet Sematary was coming up, and that was that. Here we are now, doing the damn thing. So let's get to it and cover the 1989 Stephen King's Pet Sematary.
Hell fucking yeah, like you said, like we wanted to fucking, this is like one of my, maybe I'm spilling the beans here a little early, but this is one of my fucking all-time fucking favorite fucking horror films. I don't really watch horror films like movies in general. I don't watch them a lot like back-to-back or repeat viewings.
Right.
It doesn't happen very often. I watch a movie and I'm done. It's in the banks. It's already it's already ruined. You know what I'm saying? I already know the ending and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless it's like Fight Club or Double Meanings. So this is one of those fucking movies where like honestly, it's kind of like I'll reference something that people in our scene will remember, Thy Unveiling, where it's like there's a scene in this fucking movie. When we get to it, I'm gonna dive in. You guys will fucking know. There's a scene in this movie that's ingrained into my fucking memory, and it's Pet Sematary is pretty much my favorite horror film. So let's get into it. So
Hell yeah.
the movie opens up, and it's sunshine, bright sunny days. You know what I mean?
Birds chirping.
Birds chirp, literally birds chirping. A car pulls up into the fucking driveway. And it's the family. It's Louis Creed, played by Dale Midkiff, and Rachel, who's played by Denise Crosby, who people will probably recognize from Star Trek. Their daughter Ellie, who's played by Blaise Berdahl, who, if you grew up in the 90s, you know her from Ghost Rider, which I grew up watching.
Are you talking about that show with the fucking there's a little blob and it'll go through?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah. No, I didn't know that. I haven't even thought about that show in 30 years.
Yeah, she's one of the main characters in the fucking show.
All right.
It's so weird when I watch Pet Sematary and then later on seeing her in fucking Ghost Rider. What the fuck?
right.
Then there's also Gage, who's the son, who's played by Miko Hughes, who was in New Nightmare. This kid was like the hot fucking kid actor at the time, man. He was in Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah.
He was fucking in a bunch of TV, Full House. He was in he had that fucking look, that bowl haircut fucking look that a 90s kid had back then.
They just released a trailer that he's reviving his Dylan from Wes Craven's New Nightmare. And Dylan's Nightmare, or I forget what the movie's called, but it's a fan-made next I guess sequel to Wes Craven's New Nightmare. And he's coming back to play fucking Dylan in it again.
I did see that. He's also Miko Hughes is also really big on the convention scene. I've seen him do a bunch of conventions.
Oh, word.
Fan signings and shit like that. Yeah. So yeah, they pull up, they're all fucking happy and shit. They're like, "Ooh, we got a new house. Ooh, it's so nice and fancy." And then Ellie fucking runs out, and she fucking runs up to this fucking tire swing, and you're just like, "All right, well, this is where the movie starts to put its screws in a little bit."
LA, listen to your mom.
I'm not gonna even lie, dude. When it fucking broke, dude, I died the first time. I don't know why, but I didn't expect that shit to happen. But she fucking falls. I'm like, good. Fucking idiot. You never trust that new shit out of the house. But then, when she's swinging on that fucking tire swing, she finds a path that leads to the Pet Cemetery, which they'll explore later. And then this fucking truck comes barreling down the road, and they're really, they're focusing on it. It's been a long time since I've seen this movie, right? So I thought, I'm like, fuck, this kid gets fucking killed this early in the fucking movie. But no, he fucking doesn't. His dad scoops him up.
Judd scoops him up in this scene.
Judd scoops him up?
Judd, Fred Gwynn, who played Herman Munster.
Yeah, dog.
Like, you can tell it's fucking him.
Dude, Fred Gwynn is he's the only reason why I watch this movie, dog. Like, Lois, I fucking can't stand this dude throughout this entire fucking movie. All of his expressions are fucking ridiculously dumb.
This movie is like I was rewatching it like with like a critical eye, you know, which I normally don't. I just watch a movie to have fun, right?
Yeah.
And there's like, I know exactly what you're talking about because there's a lot of like hamming it up acting in this movie.
That's all he does is ham.
Yeah, there's a lot of hamming it up in this movie, but then there's also like a lot of you're definitely right about Louis Creed. But I think his wife, Denise Crosby, Rachel, does a really good job of like, there's everybody in this movie. It's such a fucking like tragic movie. Everybody is carrying so much baggage in this fucking movie.
Yeah.
But like we were saying with the dialogue and shit, there is some like funny dialogue that like is happening. It's like TV movie dialogue almost.
Yeah.
Where you're like, what? The way they're talking is like people next door. You know what I mean? Like it's like all happy, cheery shit. You know what I'm saying?
It's shit that people wouldn't really say in real life. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like,
you know, it's like the Wilsons next door. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How you doing, Fred? Good. You know.
But Fred Gwynn, like, I always loved this dude, and like he kind of reminds me of my granddad. You know, when I was growing up, I respected the fuck out of that man. And I don't know if it's just that or like when I was always there, they would let me watch the Munsters. You know what I mean? And so like I always, you know, every time I see him, I always fucking get like, you know, a warm feeling in my gut. You know, it just reminds me of fucking like good times and shit.
Yeah. So there's a scene where Ellie's on the thing and the fucking thing breaks, but while she's swinging on that fucking thing, she sees the path. Well, there's a couple of red herrings here. There's the red herring with where she sees the path to the pet cemetery, and there's the red herring where Gage walks out into the street and Fred Gwynn, Judd scoops him up. There's two of them like right back to back in this fucking movie. They're dialing up the tension already. You're like, so obviously that puts a little seed in Lewis's head. Like he sees the path and he's like, oh shit, like, you know, what's going on with this path over here? What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, that's a good story. A good walk. I'll take you up there sometime. Tell you the story too.
Introduced to the cat church, which every time I see a cat that looks like that, I call it church. I'm like, that's a church cat right there, bro.
Hell yeah.
Named after Winston Churchill.
And who names a cat Winston Churchill?
I don't, dude. Cat,
especially a kid.
Cats have the weirdest, goofiest names, bro.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, he sees Judd chilling, so they go and they have some fucking beers, and he's gonna try and like, you know, catch up with the neighbor, you know, maybe get some information about what's going on.
Back when Church was there, he's at fucking the other tree, he jumps down at Lewis, and he almost fucking punches his cat. Dog, I fucking die every time. He like fucking cocks back and shit, like he's gonna fucking punch the shit out of his cat. Today, we see Rachel bumping into help Missy, played by Susan Blomart. I don't know how you say her fucking name, but her last name is a fucking nightmare. Who also plays a teacher, my favorite show, The X-Files, the Die Hand Die Fearless episode as a devil-worshipping teacher. She's even in an episode of Tales from the Crypt, makes an appearance, Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, you know, typical, you know, horror movie fashion. They're diving right in. Like I said, we've already got a couple red herrings set up. Yep. So, you know, Judd's like, all right, you know, hey, let's take the whole family down there. And
let's make a day out of it.
Yeah, let's make a day out of it and go check out this pet cemetery since you guys are so curious, right?
It says Pet Cemetery, honey. It's misspelled, but that's what it says.
Judd gets them. They walk down the path. Everybody walks down there. And this is also where we start to get a little bit of character development with Rachel. Like, you can immediately tell that going into the cemetery, she's uncomfortable as fuck.
Yeah, she has a weird thing with death, yeah.
She doesn't like, which we'll get into later, which, like I said, it's the beginning of the character development. I think Rachel's the best character in the whole movie. Okay, she's definitely not comfortable here. Like, what's going on? What's going on?
Right.
We'll find out for a little while. But she takes the kid. She takes Gage. It's kind of like trying to kind of stay away. She doesn't like to talk. She doesn't think that her girl needs to learn about death so early on. And he's like, you know, oh, this is normal. You know, everybody's got to learn about death at some point in their life, right?
Yeah. And they were more rugged back then, especially with the adults. Like, they were a bit more rugged. Especially, you know, you had fucking Fred Gwynn, who's probably, you know, in World War II. Or at least World War I, with however old he was in this movie. And he's like, he asked that fucking question. Do you know what a graveyard really is? Who would fucking ask that? And his fucking answer fucking kills me every time.
It's a place where the dead speak.
And you can't act so surprised by her fucking response. She's a fucking little kid. Like, she don't know about this shit. You know what I mean? She thinks life's all about the fucking rope swings and shit. Not about death and fucking dead things talking. Like, that would scare anyone. This, this makes her aware that death is a thing, and her pets won't be around her forever. And her fucking wag, monotone-ass dad does a half-ass job of reassuring her that everyone will be fine, and sends her off to bed. Then we cut to the next morning, and Cage is throwing fucking eggs everywhere. Like, that shit has me laughing every time. Like, he don't say much up here. He's just throwing eggs at his sister. He throws eggs at the fucking cat. And I never had eggs. Like, I don't know about maybe cooking was different back then. But like, if I grabbed some scrambled eggs or some shit, they ain't sticking like that. And they were clumps, dog.
It was definitely like well done scrambled egg.
I guess the cats get neutered, and because fucking
Judd tells them that they should get the cat neutered so that it doesn't run in the road.
That's right. Yeah.
Run over.
Because I guess that's the thing, right? Have you ever got a neutered cat? Have you ever neutered a cat and it's not running in the road?
I don't think so. I don't know.
No, that shit doesn't work. That reassures Ellie that everything will be okay. It might not be. You can't shoot at Rachel about it because you can't promise something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Arya's mom didn't make it through going under the knife. You know what I mean?
This is definitely a weird scene in the movie where like she, the daughter Ellie is like concerned about the cat dying, and he's like, "Oh no, it'll be fine." And then like Ellie wants to be reassured, like to promise. And he's like hesitant, and Rachel's like, "Oh, come on, make a promise." And I'm like,
"Yeah," as we'll see later, which that she should be making those promises.
And then he like comes up to her and he's like, starts talking some shit. He's like, "Look, there's a chance that this ain't gonna work." He's like,
"It's your fucking responsibility."
If this doesn't work out, it's your responsibility. It gets really awkward, and they're like. So then this is when fucking Lewis, like he's leaving because he's the doctor. He's the new doctor that's going to be working at the university. So he's taking the cat to go get it neutered, and he runs into the housekeeper who's got like some fucking stomach problems and shit. Like, I think it's like cancer.
Yeah, it's
and he's like, "Hey, I can help you out with that." And she's just kind of like, she's real squirrely and kind of weird about it and shit. And she's like, "Oh, no,
I want that fucking witchcraft doctor shit around me." Like,
yeah, she's like, she's got the shit and all that. And then Rachel comes back out. They make up, they kiss, like, It's really weird. Like, it went from like being really weird, awkward to like them being all together and shit. But yeah, like, so they're out there, they make up, and then he goes to his first day on the job, and shit hits the fan.
What a fucking good first day that was.
Yeah.
Stop! What the hell's going on?
Victor Pascal, who's played by Brad Greenquist. Like, let's be fair, he's fucking dead when he gets there, right? Like, they're pulling him up the steps, and he's fucking dead.
Pretty much.
You can see his brain. Usually, when you can see brains, that's not a good thing.
If you've seen a forever face, his head looks like a forever face.
It fucking really does, yeah.
The brain is hanging out. Yeah. It's like, it's a forever face. So he's working at like a university, right? So there's not many people there. He's got like 2 helpers, and he's in the room, and he's like trying to help them out. He's like, "Look, you guys need to go get the real 911 on the line and get this dude out of here fast because he's got to make
it's like an actual emergency room or something."
Yeah, and so he's got this. He's like kind of doing CPR at first, and then he stops, and he's just kind of sitting in the room by himself with Victor. And I at this point, it kind of seems like he's like, "There's nothing I can do here."
Dude, I thought he was gonna start eating his lunch like right next to fucking Victor. Like, real shit. Like, I thought he was gonna pull out his little lunch pail or whatever.
Chilling, he's like, "Oh, there's nothing I can do here," and then all of a sudden, like Victor like fucking like goes like fucking chops up, and he like jumps up, and he's like spitting his blood like all over fucking Lewis's face. The soil in a man's heart is stonier, the line of the movie. And then he says his name, and he's like, "How'd you know my name? How'd you know my name?" And then he fucking falls back down, and he's laying there, and it like basically passes away right there.
I still think he was dead. I think that was just like his ghost shit like popped back up.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It was definitely something like, happening there that was maybe supernatural or whatever. This is kind of the first peak, that we get that there's something else going on.
Yeah, so later that night, we cut back to the family at the house. Lewis is in bed. Pascal gets him out and takes him down the path. Brain's exposed and fucking everything. The graphics look good here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a fan of this fucking brain. A lot of people can't do brains right, especially back then. These brains look good. He leads them to the pet cemetery, where he warns them to stay where the dead speak. Don't go where the dead walk. Points at that fucking brush over there.
So yeah, this Pascal guy, he's kind of like a good Samaritan, good ghost, basically, because Lewis tried to save him. So he's like, all right, I'm going to try and help Lewis out because this is some, like, some wild shit that's about to happen. So, basically he's kind of telling him like, look, don't mess with this stuff. This is beyond your reach. This is, something that you should definitely like stay away from, right? And so then like, boom, Lewis wakes up and he's like, oh shit, fuck, cool. It was all a nightmare, right? And
it was all a dream.
It was all a dream. Then he pulls back his fucking covers and his feet are all fucking dirty and shit. So he was definitely walking out there. It's assumed that it fucking really happened, right? That he really went out there and shit. So then we kind of do some kind of like fast forward shit, I think, here, where there's like Lewis doesn't want to go because there's some bad blood between the family, which we'll see again later on. Some really bad blood goes on.
Yeah, for fucking Thanksgiving.
Ellie and Gage all go with the mother. But this is when we kind of get this like thing with Ellie where she's kind of clairvoyant, where she has this nightmare where she says something bad's going to happen while she's gone. And so she's freaking out. She's worried about Church, her cat. And Lewis is like, no, look, everything's going to be good. Don't worry about it. It's going to be all right. You guys are just going to be gone for a couple days. I'll be here. Everything will be chill. We'll be good to go. Yeah,
there's like, you're a dumb kid. Shut the fuck up. We're going to Chicago for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so they all fly out there. Lewis goes home. So Judd calls him up, tells him, hey, I got a dead cat on my lawn. It looks like it's Church. And it's like, fucking all the color falls out of Lewis's face.
Dude, when he fucking pulls him off the grass, and it's like Velcro and shit.
Yeah, they put him in a trash bag, and Judd is like, I got an idea. He's like, all right. He's like, what's the idea? He's like, it'd just be best pretty much if you come with me. And so he takes him out there, and they takes them into where the pet cemetery is. They don't stop there.
Yeah, they take him where Pascal told him specifically not to go. Like, you gotta listen to a fucking ghost. If a ghost tells you no go somewhere, you don't fucking go there, right? That shit will fucking happen.
Just don't stop and...
I think the fucking woods make some goofy ass noises. And Joe just blames on the loons, but I've listened to Ringmaster, and I know that's not how loons sound. This is really the Mimic Indian burial ground, and Lewis demands to know why they're burying Church here and not on the other side where all the other animals are buried. Judd's pretty vague about this, and just tells fucking Lewis to start digging. He's like, I ain't fucking putting shit. You gotta put in your own work around here. And I also like how this next part goes from bright ass daylight, dark ass nighttime. They had to dig a hole for a cat. That's what, at most 2 feet deep.
When he puts in that first thing, and it's like hitting concrete. Because like the soil out there, it's stonier, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. On the way back, Lewis hears the phone ringing. And fucking before, Lewis can really talk to his family, Judd's like, yo, don't fucking say one fucking word of what we did today.
He's being real shady about it. He's being real like, hey man, we didn't do nothing right now.
Right, like you actually buried a body.
You didn't see nothing. And they're like, I mean, okay.
The soil of a man's heart, Lewis, is stonier.
He answers the phone. And then he's talking to his daughter pretty much. And his daughter's like, hey, I had this really bad dream about Church again. Like, how's he doing and everything? And then Lewis is like, from this point on, it's kind of like what Steel City was saying earlier. Like, Lewis, from this point on in the movie, is like fucking stone. Like, the whole movie, he's fucked. Like, from this point on, he's like in a constant state of like pain, or like a constant state of like just like shock, pretty much.
I think he only has one emotion, and that's it. And that's all. Like, what you see is,
pure shock. And so he's just like, oh no, he's good. I just saw him. You know what I mean? She's like, oh, make sure you kiss Church goodnight. And then he says this like really corny line that's like, yuck, kiss your own cat. It's
yuck, kiss your own cat.
So like it's kind of the end of the day, I guess, and then like later on we see Lewis kind of like raking up leaves and shit. It's like the next day basically, and he doesn't really rake up any leaves. That's the funny part. Like he like rakes up like 3 leaves and then he kind of just leaves it that way. He walks back to his garage and he puts the rake up there, and then like here's this fucking like hiss, and then this is like the next cat jump scare that we get a couple of. And he's like, oh shit, it's fucking Church. What the fuck? So his brain is fucking like going fucking crazy and shit, like what the hell? And then it's like, as a viewer, it's like, well, yeah, you fucking buried a cat on an Indian burial ground, bro. Like, come on, bro, this is like Poltergeist, and like, and we all know Indian burial grounds are not where you want to bury your loved ones.
Hey, look at The Shining. The Shining was built on the hotel was fucking built on an Indian burial ground. No good shit happened there. And then the cat comes back from the dead. He's pissed. So Lewis then gets Judd to have a few more beers, and he just thinks that he accidentally buried him alive. Now, like, he's a doctor, and I understand that cats and humans aren't the fucking same, but I have to imagine a doctor can tell when a fucking cat's dead.
Like, at one point, he grabs the cat, and the cat has, like, the piece of the garbage bag on his mouth, like, where the cat, like, chewed through the bag to get out of wherever they buried him from when they buried him.
Live things don't do that.
Yeah, so Judd is like, all right, I'm gonna tell you about what's going on, beyond the pet cemetery, and basically tells the story about when he was a kid and he had his dog, and his dog had got caught up in some barbed wire and got infected, I guess, and died. And so they took him. I don't think he really says who told him, but somehow he found out. He went back there, buried him in the old Indian cemetery. You know what I'm saying? And
I was gonna say, like, I don't think anyone told him. I guess how would he know then?
Yeah,
because like he was one of the first dogs to be buried in the not haunted part, but then maybe he was the first to find out. It was just an accident, because it was. I mean, an Indian burial ground is just an Indian burial ground. That's all over the fucking place. But maybe no one told him, and his dog just came back, so we put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. But yeah, so it comes back and it's like rabid. It's like a fucking like mean ass fucking dog, right? The way he says it's kind of funny. He said, "Oh, when it passed away late one night," which is like, I don't know if he's like trying to hide the fact that they had to murder the dog or some shit. I don't know.
For sure. Yeah,
but
he didn't want to put his childhood dog down again.
Yeah, but he says, then they buried him in the old pet cemetery. And they're both kind of like chilling, you know what I mean? And then Lewis is like sitting there and he's kind of like fucking pondering shit, and he's like, he asks a question. He's a doctor, you know what I mean? He's like, have they ever buried a person back there?
I think any of us would ask that. That would be the next question I would ask.
Yeah.
Like, your dog came back. Did you ever bury a fucking human back there?
Has anyone ever buried a person up there?
Christ on his throne, no.
And all this resurrection talk is too much for Lewis. And he decides he's going to take a bath about it while he's resting. Zombie Church comes back, and there's a fucking rat at him when he's in the fucking public, a fucking asshole cat. So, like, not only do you come back fucking like a rabid, wild-ass animal, you come back as a fucking asshole. Which we will see later in this movie, that you do come back as an asshole. The next day, Lewis goes to pick his family up from the airport. And Ellie immediately asks about church, and Lewis just lies his fucking ass off. In this fucking tone, like, he just comes off like such a fucking asshole. I can't get over it. Like, this. His acting really ruins this movie for me. Like, it really does. They get home where she finds church. He fucking stinks. Because, dead things don't smell good. We cut back over to Missy, just in case you forgot about her, writing a suicide letter about her stomach cancer. And then...
It's a really creepy scene. Like, it's another scene that's shot really fucking well.
Real tense. You know what I mean? You can almost feel her despair. What the fuck was she in this movie? There's no point for her to be in this movie. She doesn't push nothing along.
She's in this movie to trigger Rachel's story, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
To kind of push further Rachel's story about her sister, Zelda, which is like what we're about to talk about. So yeah, then they pretty much cut straight from her and they go to her funeral, where cameo from Stephen King, you know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Playing the priest, he's delivering the eulogy, you know what I mean? Everybody's kind of, consoling each other and everything.
Yeah, funeral shit.
Yeah. And then, like, at the end of the day, they go back and they're like, Lewis is comforting their daughter and trying to make sure everything's good and all that. Lewis goes to his room and his wife walks in and she sits down on the bed and she starts, like, talking about, like, reflecting on, like, everything that's happened so far that we talked about with the character development, with all the death that's pretty much surrounded them at this point. Ellie complaining about the cat smelling like death and hating the smell, and like I was saying earlier, when she's uncomfortable in the thing. So we're finally getting the story. This is the kind of the payoff, and my absolute favorite scene in the whole film. Well, a part of it, my favorite character, I guess I should say, in the film. When she was younger, she had a sister named Zelda who had spinal meningitis, and at this point they didn't have like a treatment for it, I'm assuming, because it's so far back.
Yeah, they just kind of put her in the fucking attic and was like, all right, you're good here.
This is where, like, Denise Crosby's acting fucking shines, because she tells the story so fucking well, bro. It's like they kept her in the back room because she was like a dirty secret, and they all kind of secretly wanted her to die because she was.
It was just too much. Yeah, like they couldn't take care of her.
Making their life a living hell, and she looks, bro. When you see
dog,
Zelda,
yeah.
this scene always there's not much stuff in horror movies that ever like creeps me out or scares me anymore. You know, it's kind of the way we are. But this scene, bro, every time I see it, it makes my skin crawl, bro.
It's the scariest scene in this movie for sure. Like her
100%.
fingers and shit. Oh, dog, her fingers are all fucking like. Ugh.
Back's all mangled and shit, and it's actually a dude in a suit, but like the way her skin's all like tanned and like leathery and like. And she has to feed her food, and she's like
just all slop. Yeah, it's all fucking. Yeah, no, it's the creepiest shit in this whole fucking movie, and they did pretty fucking well with it. Like her body's acting the way like fucking like that little girl's in the fucking Exorcist would. You know what I mean? It's like fucking contorting. You're fucking her screaming and moaning throughout the whole fucking shit. Like,
Yeah, so what happens is her parents leave, and they leave her there alone in the house to take care of Zelda by herself.
Yikes.
And she starts going into like a fit, like she starts choking and shit. And so Rachel's like, what the fuck do I do? You know what I mean?
And she also didn't want to do anything. Like she wanted, like you said, like everyone wanted her to die, but especially Rachel. Like, how she was fucking. At the most, she could have been. She was like what 13. This is way too much for her to fucking handle.
Probably even younger
by herself.
Than that at that point. Yeah. And so like she's like scared and like afraid, and she's like afraid that people are gonna blame her for the death of her sister, and like all these emotions and shit. And then she fucking runs out of the house. All the people from the neighborhood are coming out, and she says this line where she's like, where it's a couple different lines, but she says like, everybody thought I was crying that like this had happened, but I think maybe I was laughing.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh fuck, dude, that shit's so it's so fucking it's so like delivered so fucking well, and the way she tells the story is so fucking good. And then she's like continues, and she's like looking at him, and she's like, she was just talking about death. She's like, it's like, we all just wanted her to die, and she's like, but is she really dead? Did she really die? Or is she still here? You know what I mean?
Right, yeah. And it plagues her throughout the rest of the movie too. It plagues her until her death, and which is a heavy thing. And that goes back to why she has such a weird relationship with death. Why, she's being weird about the cat. Thinking the cat might be dying and fucking all of it.
And I thought, oh my god, she's choking. Zelda's choking.
Bro, I mean, when I was a kid, when I was younger, like 12, 13, whenever I was watching this movie when I was a kid, when I would watch this, I remember watching this movie one time by myself at my grandmother's house, and that scene was coming on, and the scene starts with her nasty ass hand like gripping the blanket, and when that came up, I changed the channel. I changed the channel for like 10 minutes and then turned it back. I was like, I do not want to see this scene right now, bro. It's too creepy.
You could have ended up like Rachel, dude. You're probably the same age as she was,
bro. This scene is stuck with me forever, which is why I fucking love this movie the way I do, because like that character and the fucking way that Denise Crosby delivers the lines in that movie, and it's like so much like anguish, and it's like so much pain, and it's like so much like it's kind of like it's like we don't know what people are carrying every day in their lives. You know what I mean? Like anybody could be carrying this kind of weight, and we don't even know it. You know what I mean?
Right,
and it's like that's some heavy shit, man.
Yeah, especially for like at her age, like all adults can't handle that these days. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing.
I never thought of that. Yeah,
this happens when she's a kid, and she's carrying it with her all the way into her adulthood, and we see it. We've seen it affecting her up until this moment, because we've seen her reacting funny to every scene where they're kind of talking about death or they're reflecting on it a little bit. You can see her kind of be uncomfortable, and you don't really know why until we get to this part. And it also kind of explains the relationship with the parents a little more too, because even Lewis is like, I had enough reasons to hate your parents before, now I hate them even more because
he even thinks it's fucking ridiculous she had to deal with a dying sister.
It's a heavy fucking scene, man. Yeah, it's whew.
Well, speaking of heavy scenes, we're leading up to the fucking next heaviest scene in this movie. At first, it doesn't seem too heavy. It seems like a nice little breather from all the fucking crazy shit we just saw. We had the whole family and Judd getting together for a picnic out in the backyard. Or I guess the side yard. It's not really the backyard, but they're having a nice picnic. Got some tasty snacks, some refreshing drinks, and they're even flying a kite. Bro, I can't believe they fucking killed this kid off. Real shit.
It's like we were saying earlier with there's the red herring where Judd picks the kid up and saves him. Lewis, for some reason, is like laughing with the family or something like that. I forget exactly what happens, but
because the girl was like saying, like Ellie was saying some wild shit, like she like swore or something. And everyone's like, little fucking kid swearing. And he's not paying any fucking attention to his son.
Kid walks up, and then the fucking truck comes and fucking bam, fucking slam, and then like the infamous scene, bro. It's just like he's like.
It's so bad.
We see the shoe fucking fly off.
Oh, it's covered in blood and shit.
Covered in blood, and it fucking lands. It's like it's almost worse seeing the shoe than it would have been if we had seen it hit him. Impactful, I guess. Having just seen the shoe and him screaming, because then it fades right into where the funeral happens.
And while this family is mourning the loss of their fucking son, this dad gets up in Lewis's face and just starts fucking blaming him. He just blames Lewis for fucking Gage's death. As you would. Like, I don't blame Lewis for this. He just fucking cracks his dad in the fucking mouth. And he leads him, and takes him to the ground. And they just start fighting. I saw, you could see this coming. They knock over the fucking casket, right? Then you see his little fucking arm fly out of the fucking casket.
Yeah. The casket opens. The casket opens for a second, and Lewis looks over and he can see the arm, like the sun, like kind of bounce in the casket. It's like.
Later that night, after he tucks Ellie to bed, he goes to lay himself down with his wife, but is greeted by that asshole cat Church.
Fuck off, hairball.
Yeah, so we get to the point where Judd kind of like eventually like inserts himself into the situation, and like he starts to feel like because Lewis goes down to the living room, pours himself some scotch, you know what I mean? Right. And Judd walks in, is like crying, like fucking upset and shit, and he's like blaming himself. He's like, look, I brought this evil onto you. Like, just introducing you to this place is basically saying, like, I brought this evil onto you guys just by introducing you to this location.
And I felt fucking bad, dog. Like I said earlier, dog. The acting in this movie is terrible, except for Fred. Fucking Fred Gwynn. Like, I don't know if his acting is what makes me feel bad about this scene, or if he, or if it's like, the heaviness of this all. The kid dying, the fucking. But like Fred Gwynn's acting, like those tears felt fucking real. Like his like worriness that he's the reason that he brought this evil back. Because like I said, I don't know if it was because of his great acting skills in an ocean of bullshit, or if it was just the heaviness of the scene.
Yeah, Fred Gwynn and Denise Crosby definitely like steal the show in the movie. That's for sure. So what happens is Judd comes in. He's like, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking about burying your kid back there. And when I told you nobody had tried it before, I was actually lying. And it was this kid who was coming back to that town from World War II, like you said earlier. But he died on the way back. He didn't even die there. He died on the way back. But you see, like, the kid's father has, like, his Purple Heart, and he's just, like, fucking, like, devastated, right? Yeah. So he buries his kid back there, and the kid comes back, and he's fucking not right. They have a shot. It's another good shot of you see something burying in the ground, and then like it comes up, and he like turns around, looks at you, and he's like eating like a leg, and then he like scratches his face.
Yeah,
and
blood, his nails are popping off and shit.
The effects in this movie are really fucking good, minus a couple things at the end. He scratches his face like this, and there's like blood starts coming out. It's like it's good. So. The kid's just just becoming a menace, basically, like fucking shit up. Like, obviously, they're just like, this isn't right, this isn't natural. So a bunch of them got together, like old fucking, like, Nightmare on Elm Street style, like, we're gonna
right. Torch the fucking house down,
torch the house, and they were trying to save the father, but they couldn't save him, and the son grabbed the father and basically carried him into the burning house. I thought it was kind of funny how they burned the whole house. I'm like, you guys didn't have to do all that. But
you could have just killed him and left the family with the house. But
yeah, you didn't have to burn the whole house down. But hey, whatever.
The place is evil. Sometimes that is better.
Dead sure is better. And this is one of my favorite lines, and almost like in horror history, just the way he delivers his dead is better. Dead sure is better. Like this fucking like southern accent or whatever the fuck it is.
There was also another line in the movie that I thought was really good, and it was when Judd asks Lewis, he's like, how was your cat? And Lewis goes, it's Ellie's cat. And Judd just looks at him and he goes, no, it's your cat now.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So good. Like we're saying, Fred Gwynn's acting is really, the way he delivers his lines is just really good.
And then Judd also tells him that the ground is soured, just like Pascal did. But, Judd tells him not to bury his son on the other side of that brush. But, he's gonna fucking do it anyways. He's a fucking idiot. So they decide that, they decide that Rachel and Ellie are gonna go to Chicago with Rachel's parents.
And Ellie, obviously, like we're saying, is a little clairvoyant, so she's like, no, don't do this. I'm having nightmares about some messed up shit happening.
And this is when she mentions Pascal for the first time. That would have been a big clue if the dad was there, but the dad was talking to the wife or talking to their parents or whatever. So the family leaves, and we find why Lewis really stayed back from this family trip to Chicago.
Yeah, he goes to the so he gets all his tools. He goes to the cemetery, and again, it's like, it starts in the daytime. He starts digging his kid up. You know what I mean?
This one's a little bit more reasonable, though. I can understand why this one might take all day.
Yeah. So he eventually digs the kid up. At one point, the cops come by, and he's like hiding.
Almost gets caught.
Damn, man, that's fucking.
It's a heavy scene. Like, fuck, dude, your kid just died. He'll do anything. Not listen. He won't listen to a ghost. He won't listen to his only friend in town about it. You know what I mean? Like, they all said, don't try it. But
yeah, and then there's some stuff we forgot to mention a little bit with Ellie, where she's like, like I said, they have a couple different conversations with her about that. And she gets on this kick at one point where she's like, if God wanted to bring them back, he could, right? Like, yep. He could, right? And like Lewis has to have in his mind, like, I could bring him back. You know what I mean? He's got all this like regret and trauma that's building up, and it's like those like videos where somebody's like getting ready to spill something and they have a drink in their other hand, and then they spill that drink while they're trying to catch the other drink, and then they all spill. Like, this is Lewis the whole movie. Ellie has a nightmare about her dad again, and it's about Pascal. And she's like, she's got like this like fake sweat on her face. It's kind of funny. It looks like they took a water bottle and like sprayed it.
Because that's exactly what they did.
I know, it's really funny actually.
It's the 80s. So I'll let it slide.
Yeah. Like I said, rewatching it with like a more little critical eye, it does play a lot like a TV movie.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
It's definitely low budget. For back then, obviously, it was a little better to be lower budget because you were actually shooting on film, which makes it look different. But that's a whole other thing. Oh.
Yeah.
But so Rachel's like, and then Pascal like gets in her ear and like starts kind of like dropping like little hints. Like, she can't see him like Lewis could, but he's like whispering things into her ear, and then she's like putting them together, and she's like starts freaking out, like, oh shit, like I gotta go back home. So she's calling Lewis, like, hey, Lewis, like, where are you at? He's not answering the phone. She's freaking out. Her parents are like, what are you doing? She's like, I have to go.
She's getting the fuck out of there.
Yeah, so the whole way, Pascal's like helping her. Like, he's like doing little things to help her get back as fast as possible.
Yeah, like makes the lady fucking like not close the door. Like the stewardess lady not close the door. And,
he like holds it.
Yeah, and he gets the fucking like the lady at the front desk at like the fucking Hertz rental car, whatever the fuck it was like, we don't have anything. He's like, well, what about the one with a scratch on it? She's like, oh yeah, the one with the fucking scratch on it. She'll take it, And in her panic and everything, she calls Judd to let him know that she can't get a hold of him. And fucking Judd doesn't say nothing, but he knows what the fuck's up. So he goes on his front porch, call him a fucking dumbass or whatever.
Well, he freaks out. He freaks the fuck out. Because she's like, I gotta go. And he's like, no, don't, because he knows what's happening. Judd knows what's going on. Judd knows that he's going to get, and he's like, no, you don't want to come home right now. Like, you don't.
I forgot. Yeah.
He hangs up the phone before he can like get across to her what's going on.
But after only one beer, he falls asleep in his fucking chair. Granted, it looks like a pretty comfortable chair. Lewis buries Gage in the Indian burial ground. And then even, like, I like this part where the good side, I guess, of the fucking cemetery tries to, like, stop him from doing it because they know how fucked up it is. Like, tries to, like, fucking knock a tree down on him to, like, stop him. But he fucking does it. And he fucking does it. And then, yeah, Pascal keeps fucking helping Rachel. And I like how the powers of the fucking burial ground even giving her a flat tire. Like, so this fucking graveyard can do whatever the fuck it really wants. If she starts to hitchhike, that truck picks her up. She knows that truck's about to drive her place all the time. This wasn't the same driver, was it? That fucking
hit the
hit her kid? Yeah.
I can't recall.
Because I don't think it was. They fucking should have. How wild would that have been? You know what I mean? Like,
it definitely would have been interesting, yeah. Yeah, so Lewis buries his kid out there. And he's like, dead tired because he's got to fucking dig through all that stony ass fucking dirt. So he goes home and he passes the fuck out, right? Because he's out at this point.
Yeah, he's tired as fuck.
So he passes out, and then Gage fucking wakes up. But Gage sneaks into the fucking house, grabs some of his dad's fucking surgical equipment, a little scalpel and some shit.
Nice little box.
in a nice little, little handy box there, and then fucking goes over to Judd's house because Judd's out there. Judd was sitting on the porch like we mentioned earlier, smoking a cigarette, waiting because he knew this shit was gonna go down, right?
Yeah.
But he wakes up. I think he hears the laugh, and it wakes him up, and he's like,
the door slam. I think when Gage goes into the house, the door slams or whatever, like that, like screen door or whatever. And he wakes up, and then he notices that Lewis is home now. He's like, oh, all right, bet.
Yeah,
I'm gonna fucking bring this motherfucker's neck. Then he sees like the fucking feet print, the mud prints
going into his house, and he goes in, and he can hear the little giggles and shit. He's like, he's like, what the? He's like, oh fuck, he knows what's up. And he goes upstairs to his room, and then this is where probably the other like really gruesome scene happens. Second most gruesome scene. Well, I mean, depends if he calls Zelda gruesome, but he takes the little scalpel out and cuts his Achilles tendon, and it's nasty. It's nasty.
Yeah.
So
like even just like that area, like the blood and shit isn't wild, but just imagine getting cut on your Achilles tendon, dog. Like that's fucked up. That will hurt.
Yeah, he splices that son of a bitch open.
Where did you
And then he like goes to like bite his fucking face off or whatever.
He bites his neck. Yeah, he bites well, he slits his mouth right here.
That's it. Yeah.
Judd's like, oh, and he's like, right here.
Yeah.
And then like he falls back and he's like freaking out, and then all the stuff with Gage like reminds me heavily, especially when we get into what happens later with Gage, reminds me so much of Child's Play. Like the way he moves, the way they do certain things, it's like it's like it looks exactly like Child's Play stuff.
This is about the time Rachel gets home. She thanks the driver and Pascal. But Pascal tells her that she can't go any further. Never understood why he couldn't go any further. He's been helpful this time. He went to the fucking cemetery already.
Yeah, he did go to the cemetery already.
It's like, why? Like, demons? Or the demons,
he used up all his powers at that point, you know what I mean?
His ghost meter's at zero.
His ghost juice was, draining. He entered her dream and everything else, you know what I'm saying?
Driver's like, I hope everything works out for you. She's like, I'm sure it will. And he's like, fuck no.
Yeah,
he knows what's gonna happen. But then, as she gets out of the truck drives away, and we hear Gage calls her out while laughing from outside Judd's house. But of course, she has to go inside and investigate. Then she hears Judd's anguish and heads upstairs, only to find.
Never get out of bed again. Never get out of bed again.
Yeah, so she walks into the room, and in the corner, you just see like somebody like fucking like huddled up, right? And you're like, what the fuck? And then turns around, and it's fucking Zelda.
Sister,
fucking Zelda. And she's like, we forgot there was a slight part that was actually really spooky that we slightly brushed over, but I'll bring it up now because it also involves Zelda. When Rachel's on the plane, she has a nightmare about Zelda, and Zelda's like, me and Gage are gonna make sure that you don't walk too, or some shit. It's like,
yeah, she's still holding on that guilt. Now she thinks like she's part of the reason why her son died too.
So Zelda's at the house here, and she walks up and she does the like the famous line that Zelda says, never get out of bed again, never get out of bed again. And Rachel like at this point is like kind of like zones out, like passes out from fucking fear or some shit. Like she just fucking loses it at that point. And then when she comes back, it's Gage standing there wearing what Zelda was wearing with the little cane
and the fucking top hat.
And little hat and shit. And she's like delusional at this point. And she just like sees Gage, and she's like, oh, my son. She's like. She's been through so much, I can only assume in this past 24 hours that she just like is just like on like
she doesn't know what the fuck she's seeing. She's delirious too. Like she probably really believes that her son's dead and everything was just a fucking nightmare. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So they like pretty much like embrace, and I think she's just pretty much killed off camera. Pretty much like at that point we don't see her again. Like that's it. She screams. Boom, we're done. Flash over to Lewis for a little bit because he wakes up and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" He wakes up and he sees the footprints in the house, and then he sees that his shit's missing. And he's like, "Oh fuck, Gage is up." You know what I mean? It's like, what the hell is going on?
And then he gets a call from her dad. It was like, "Hey, Rachel fucking came home. Is she okay? Like, we want to talk to her because she wasn't really trying to talk. She was at the house." And he's like, "No, she's sleeping." And he's like, "Let me fucking talk to her." He's like, "Fuck you," and just fucking bangs up on the phone. He started like he knows what's going on. You know what I mean? He doesn't necessarily know that like she's dead. He knows that shit's not good right now and the son's back. And so the phone rings again. Like, God damn, dog, like leave this motherfucker alone. He doesn't tell her dad to fuck off again. This time.
Oh, and I told you I can't talk to you right now.
Alright, yes, Daddy. Will you come over and play with me?
It's Gage. It's a little old Gage. Hey, Danny. Hey, Danny. And then he's like starts losing because this is the first time he's heard his kid talk since he died. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he's like
now he knows how to use the phone.
He's got this line. He's like, first I played with Judd, then I played with Mommy. Now I want to play with you.
Yeah. He's like, what did you do, Gage?
What did you do?
No, Lewis, what the fuck did you do? All right, like you fucked this all up. It's all your fault.
And the little kid's just laughing and shit, bro. It's so diabolical. Like, oh shit, bro, this shit's about to go down, bro.
Yeah. So now he's gonna have to fucking handle it. So he gets a couple syringes, right? And it's full of whatever he fucking goes in there. He goes to fucking kill his son again. I also like this, where he's like, where he goes over to the house and fucking Church is in there, and he's like, "Are you a cat that came back from the dead?" Well, it just so happens that if you're a cat that came back from the dead, today's your Thanksgiving. Like, just feed him the steak, all right? Like, shut the fuck up, or just stab him. Like, Jesus Christ. But so he fucking feeds him, and then he feeds him this big ass steak. And when his Church's guard's down, he sticks him with a syringe, and the shit works. And now it's time to fucking kill your zombie son again. So he busts in the door, and I like he was delusional when he got in the house, or if it was like the evils of the cemetery, but like all the moss and shit overgrown throughout the entire house. It reminded me of fucking what happened to Stephen King when he fucked with that comic creep show. Like I thought, like I don't know if that was a nod to it.
Yeah, it's like mold or like it's really weird. It's like the whole house is like deteriorated and like like moldy and like looks like a swamp or something.
Yeah, it was a fucking nice touch. But he snaps out of it, and here's his son talking more eerie shit from upstairs.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just like, you know, yelling, like talking to his dad, like, "Hey, dad," and shit like that. And you know, Lewis walks upstairs. He's like looking around. He's trying to find him. He's like looking around. He looks in the bathroom. There's nothing in the bathroom.
I thought for sure that's where his wife was gonna be though.
But he goes into Judd's room and he finds Judd fucking dead as fuck.
He knows what he has to do now. Find his wife and kill his son. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, so he fucking opens up the fucking attic thing, and his wife fucking like falls out.
Balls, dog.
Like she's
dead
like
weight.
basically noosed up, right? This is like the one part of the movie where the special effects failed. He looks up and he sees Gage. And Gage looks straight up like demonic. Like it's so weird. It's like clearly a doll or something, because like they have him like he like snarls or something. Like he's got this like weird looking expression. I don't know what they used as a stand-in for Gage, but like whatever it was, it looked crazy as fuck.
Probably some like animatronic shit.
Yeah, it was like animatronic or something.
Yeah.
But the part that like always kind of takes me out a little bit is that he jumps down like fucking like it's like a straight lunges straight down at Lewis.
It was a drop, like they dropped the doll. Like that's what it was, right? Like they just dropped the heavy ass doll.
Yeah, right on top of Lewis, and he's like wrestling, like which is the other funny part, which is like does when they come back, do they get like superhuman strength or something like that?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, because the kid's like 3 years older, however the fuck old he is. Like you can easily just like put your hand down there. No.
Yeah,
it's not. Yeah, old like your hands on his fucking your palm of your hands on his forehead, and they're like fucking swinging at you.
I guess a joke that Gage plays is like his dad finally gets him and sticks him, and then he pouts, he does the no fair, turns back into basically like the Gage that Lewis knew.
Yeah, which was fucking stupid.
No fair. No fair, no fair.
Gage dies again. And then Lewis can't fucking leave any of this evidence behind. But he douses the whole fire in gasoline. And it sets everything except on fire. Except for one fucking thing. He didn't learn his stupid fucking lesson the first 2 times.
It will work this time. Because she just died. She just died a little while ago.
At this point, he is straight up delusional, lost his goddamn mind.
Yeah, he's off his fucking rocker.
He's carrying his wife out. Pascal's trying to stop him. He ain't having that shit. Lewis is on a fucking mission, and he's like telling himself like, she just died, she'll be fine. She'll be good because she just died. She just died, she'll be fine when she comes back. And it's just like, oh, bro, come on, dude.
At this point, I don't even feel bad for him anymore. His son died, I felt bad. You know, even if it was kind of his fault, but I felt bad. He brings him back to life, knowing this bad shit's gonna happen. Watches it happen, kills his wife, right? And then he has to kill him again, and she's like, you know what, third time's a charm, I can get this fucking right. Like, nah, she can still be warm. Her conscience or whatever is already fucking gone. Or whatever, you know, the Indians believe. This fucking bullshit ain't gonna help. But he don't fucking care. And like you said, yeah, he's so distraught. Like, he just lost his whole family. His only friend that he had. And I mean, I guess he still has Ellie, though. How's Ellie gonna handle all this?
Yeah, Ellie's the only one that's survived because she's still in Chicago with
with the grandparents.
her mother's parents. Yeah, so he takes her out there and he buries her, and then he goes back home and he sits, like, he kind of just lays on the floor and he's playing cards, you know what I mean? And then the clock strikes and then the door opens. And I don't know why this always struck me weird in the movie, but she's got like one high heel on, one high heel off. And she walks in and he's like in love or some shit, bro. He's like mesmerized by her. And she walks in and she's like missing half her face. And
yeah,
it's like,
she looks real fucking good.
It's gushing.
Yeah, like the special effects, were fucking on point.
Yeah, the special effects were really good. She's like got like pus gushing out of her eye and shit. Like, it's nasty. And then so he starts making out with her, and then it like goes into slow motion like in an 80s movie, you know what I mean, where they give the high fives. Only this time she's reaching for she's reaching for a knife on the table, and she like brings it around, and then like it gets like so far, and then the screen goes black, and then you just hear him scream. And so that's the fucking movie.
Do you think she brought him to the fucking cemetery and buried him there?
Well, like, see, in the remake, I think they did that shit. So
for real? I didn't see the remake. So.
The remake is trash.
Yeah.
But it's been so long since I've seen the remake, but I remember them specifically. Like, there are certain themes that I think that work so well in this movie. Like in the remake, they have the little girl dies instead of the little boy, which I guess is like their attempt at just throwing a swerve, I guess. But like, I don't know. I think it works. It being the son, I don't know. But
honestly, realistically, to me, like it don't matter which one of the kids dies, as long as the kids die.
Yeah, they gotta get it.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens when you fly kites. All right, people, don't fly a kite. They didn't fly a kite, and that's what happened.
Yeah, so I take it you didn't like the movie as much as I did.
No, I'm not a huge fan of this movie. It's the acting is what really fucks it up. Like Lewis really fucks this movie up for me. Just with this, like I said, it's fucking monotone bullshit. That's pretty much that's my biggest beef with the movie.
Yeah, like I said, watching it back like with a critical eye for this review, there was like I definitely like noticed that like going into it. I was definitely like, man, there's a lot of corny shit that's said in this movie.
Yeah, all by him. Like even the are you gonna cut Church's nuts off or whatever the fuck?
Yeah,
I'm like okay, like
well,
whatever,
the line that we mentioned earlier where her mother is like you know, oh, you know how men are. He's probably out getting a chicken sandwich or something like that.
Yeah, just get on hamburgers. Like, yeah, okay, like, that's what that's where they go.
There's a lot of.
Well, we all want to drown our sorrows after our son died. We go to McDonald's.
There's definitely a lot of like weird lines in the movie where you're like, okay, that's weird. Why would you say it like that?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like I've already said, I love this fucking movie. It's probably my all-time favorite horror film, which is why I wanted to do the review.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like, and because the acting, I wouldn't say it's like the best horror film. You know what I'm saying? But it is my favorite because it's got so many like dope ass scenes. The themes are so fucking heavy in this movie, and the Zelda shit, like I said, is like, in my opinion, the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in a film before.
That shit, I'll give you that. Like that shit, like, because it's not like with a lot of the horror movies, like a lot of it's like shit that would never happen. You know what I mean? But this could really happen. Like, you can see your loved one dying. A lot of people do. You know what I mean? Just wither away into nothing. And like, you know, that person you have memories with, they grew up together or whatever. You know, playing ball or fucking hitting a hula hoop with a stick or whatever they did back then. You know what I mean? Like just good memories. And then watched her die, and then having to take care of her, like. So that, imagine what that entails. You have to feed her, you have to bathe her, you have to wash her ass, you have, all that shit. And like, it's a lot for a fucking little kid to have to take, and she had to.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of saying it was like it's like the guilt that she carried around. Like you said, it is like it's like real, like that. Like that could be somebody's real story. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of people out there like that. You know what I mean? Like.
And so, and like I said, the way that she delivers the story, like if you watch any part of this movie, watch that part. watch the part where Rachel goes over the story about what happened with her sister. It's so chilling. It's so good.
Today's the 24th anniversary of the release of this movie, and Luke the Goon wanted to fucking review it. Who am I to say no? So Luke, want to throw any of your socials out there where these motherfuckers can fuck with you at, what you're doing in life?
LukeTheGoon.com. Check out SON, LegionRealm.net. Camp Zool 3, it'll be fucking dope. Noise 13 at Noisetown.com, and then Army of the Heartless, Dean. Those are all part of Goon Management. LukeTheGoon.com is my YouTube channel. We'll see what's going on there in the coming days.
Well, man,
Steel City knows how it is. You know, you create content kind of in waves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you get that inspiration and then you start pumping shit out.
Yeah, man. Like, real life gets in the way. You know what I mean? Sometimes the energy's not there. But when shit comes back, fucking full force. I want to thank you. I had a fucking lot of fun doing this episode. This, in my book, this is probably one of the best episodes I have on here, if not the best. And I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for coming on the show. I hope Jens had as much fun watching this as we did fucking making this. And I'll catch you next week.
Shout out to Pittsburgh Juggalo-based horror show on YouTube called Terror Reels. Terror Reels. It's real. Real terror. Real. R-E-E-L. R-E-A-L. Terror Reels. Terror Reels. Hey, Dog Will Hunt, get that bitch. You dented my plate. My brain is burning. Terror Reels. Goodbye.